the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Yes! Happy Thanksgiving. Here we are, baby. Coming strong, coming heavy. Huge show coming up. The MVP, Rich Gannon, to talk NFL. Vito's son, Sal Palantonio, on the big Eagles-Ravens game. Also, Barkley MVP discussion. Double shot. Brad Powers, rapid fire every pick in college football. Mike Somich, maybe give out a horse. Also, picks and props. A special Thanksgiving message from the maestro. Win, lose, in pocket. Lot going on. How you doing?
Excited. Happy Drinksgiving.
Yes, that's right.
Happy Drinksgiving.
Yeah.
Huge concert tonight at DLV.
Moderation.
I said I was at Starbucks this morning. I got my caramel brulee latte.
Sure.
And the lady said, "Happy Thanksgiving Eve." I said, "Drinksgiving." She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It's Drinksgiving. You never heard of this? It's a very tradition in the Midwest. You go out and drink with your friends before you have to spend the day with your family tomorrow. A lot of kids coming home, young adults coming home from wherever they lived, and they get together with their high school buddies, their college buddies, and celebrate." She said, "So I learned a new thing." Sheltered out here, West Coast.
Sure.
Very sheltered people.
Absolutely. Yeah, well done. Well, first of all, kudos to you. You got sources in Minneapolis?
I told you I have sources in Minneapolis. They were talking to Dimes. They were talking to Dimes.
Charge Paul Allen?
Yeah.
What do you got? Danny Dimes to the Vikings.
Can't get a hold of Charge. He's busy. Nowadays, he's very busy.
Uncle Gary with the yams.
I didn't know it'd be this quick.
Wow.
Boom.
Turn
done.
around like that. Well, yeah. So he gets 375 practice squad. If there's an injury to another team, he can still try to be the starter and go elsewhere. But I don't get it. I mean, you go back to 2019. Out of the 39 eligible quarterbacks, he's 27th in QBR. His record is 22-44. Is he a big upgrade over Nick Mullins? I don't know what they're going to decide to do next year. Who knows? But this is I just think O'Connell fell in love because he came into his place and beat him in a playoff game. And it's one of the few times Danny Dimes looked great.
Yeah, well, that's what they remember. You know what I mean?
Well, what about week one? We looked terrible.
It's like the '88 World Series Game 1, right? Where Eckersley was so careful pitching to the kid that they brought over from Oakland because he was very good in Oakland, but he was terrible for the Dodgers that year. But he pitched him so carefully, Mike Davis, because he remembers him as a 300 hitter in Oakland. What he did when they were in front of him, right? He walked him, and eventually that's what led to getting Gibson to the plate.
I don't like the move.
No,
I think there's better options for next year, and then if something happens to Darnold, but that's the Minnesota way, though. But the thing is,
stopgap if Darnold gets hurt here. They got a team that's 9-2 or whatever they are.
Right, but Nick Mullins was solid when he was in there. The problem was the turnovers.
They had
in
that rotating quarterbacks last year. Jaron Hall. They puked away a playoff bid.
Yes, they started him in a Sunday night game. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the one news with Dimes going to the Vikings. Tommy DeVito out, didn't travel, didn't practice. This is big. It's Drew Lock now. Scotty Tribuco, you're on notice, buddy. If you're going to use the Cowboys in Survivor, good luck. I mean, it's squeaky bum time. And I love the Giants now with Lock. And then Trevor Lawrence could play now Sunday. That number has crashed with Houston going to Jackson. I don't get that. I don't know what's going on.
To tell you, I took 3.5 on the Lock news. I think they could beat Dallas.
Absolutely. Yeah. Changes everything.
I agree with you.
The whole handicap here is now what it does to the locker room, and you get rid of the mutiny. Because now you get the guy in there. You can't cry anymore about Dimes. He's on a different team. Now, follow the depth chart. DeVito can't play. You go to Locke, energizes the team. Oh, by the way, they embarrassed themselves against Tampa, and you're going to get a huge effort. The whole world's going to be watching tomorrow.
Well, here you go, Locke. You said, I was told I'm the number 2 guy. I don't understand what's happening. Well, here you go. Cash the check with your play here. Because he spoke about it, right? I don't understand it, and I don't make the decisions, but I'm supposed to be the number 2. Well, here you go. And they're going to throw the ball to the kid from LSU right off the bat.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. He's going to get at least 4 targets in the first quarter.
Yep, that was a good angle from Chernoff.
Chernoff was great.
And Neighbors is going to go over, and Neighbors had a big game the first time. against Dallas, so we had the meeting with Dayball as well. What's going on in Jacksonville? I mean, does Peterson have pictures of Chaka Khan? I mean, this is ridiculous. Not only does he not get whacked, middle seat Doug comes back, and now you might go to Lawrence. Punt on the season, get a draft pick, and let's move on here. I mean, you play the Raiders. It's the toilet bowl. No one wants to win it, but now you're down to 3.5, 4 in this game. If C.J. Stroud can't win this one, oh, boy. I mean, this is wake up here, Houston. But Lawrence thinks he's going to play, and he probably will play Sunday. Now coming off the bye and the humiliation against Detroit.
I'm dying to ask Rich Gannon in 10 minutes or so. What's going on with Stroud? I mean, the numbers from last year to this year, it's abysmal. The touchdown, the quarterback rating, the QBR, touchdown interception ratio, something. See what he sees. Now, his pressure rate is very high. His pressure rate, the offensive line hasn't been great. Pressure rate's the 4th highest in the league for C.J. Stroud. But I thought that the problem with Houston was going to be that too many people were going to want the ball. And then you had the injuries, and so that problem's not there.
True.
So what is it?
Mm-hmm. Do a better job defensively as well. Follow the money. Paulie and Mike Paul and Mitch on vacation. We're back strong Monday as a unit. VSiN, get the app, the Sports Betting Network. Okay, so you're objective. But as a Notre Dame guy, you have to love the bracket and where we're at right now. Number 1, Notre Dame should be ahead of Penn State. Number 2, Notre Dame will be ahead of Penn State if they're impressive against USC. Number 3, this is Paulie talking. If Notre Dame loses a close game, I don't think they're out because the committee can come around and say USC has led in every game in the 4th quarter. Maybe not a bad loss. Also would help out if there's chaos. Notre Dame has been unbelievable the last couple months when you look at point differential and how they're blowing teams out. I would love the bracket if I'm a Notre Dame fan, how it would set up, but I also think they're going to jump Penn State. What'd you think, Maestro?
Well, I think if you can jump Penn State, then you're set up. You know, I see they have Penn State the 6, and of course the Big Ten loser the 5. You're going to be playing that. You're going to be playing the lowest at large with the 11-6 game, right? Because I figured the Big 12 champ is going to be the 12 seed. Whoever that is. It's Iowa State, Arizona, whatever. There's 8 different teams that could win that.
What if I told you the Big 12 doesn't make the playoff?
Well, they have to.
No. Tulane.
You mean if Tulane and Boise both go above them?
Mike, Tulane 17, Arizona State 16, Iowa State's 18, K-State's 24, Colorado's 25. Tulane can be impressive tomorrow, and if they blow out Army, there's a path. You also have 8 teams that could still win that.
People worried that rivalry game. What is that game they call an Arizona Centennial game or whatever?
Territorial Cup?
Yeah, Territorial Cup. That Arizona could be live there. Yeah. I think K-State wins at Ames on Saturday night.
Could happen too. Farmageddon. Could happen, right?
Yep.
So you have a lot going on here.
Oh, by the way,
Big
Blake
12
Snell to the Dodgers.
Yeah, a lot of people upset. Yeah. Big 12's in trouble. Notre Dame going to jump Penn State if you're impressive against USC. And how about this? I was making the case for the ACC to get 2. How about 3? All of a sudden, Texas A&M, which we knew was the marquee game. South Carolina Clemson is a monster game now. If Clemson's impressive, they can do this. Would they jump Indiana? I don't know. But there's a path now for Clemson to get in. Well,
they have to. For 3 to get in, Miami's got to win.
Yeah, we know that.
And Clemson's got to be the at-large, not having to play in an ACC championship.
But now, if Miami and SMU is not a blowout, they're taking 2. Because you cannot, as the committee's talked about, and Pat Forty made a good case as well, everyone's well aware of the Kiffin comments. I was talking to other coaches. We don't want to play in the SEC title game. We see it as a detriment. You cannot have this as a sport where you're going to get penalized for making your conference title game. SMU and Miami both will be in, unless it's a blowout, in that ACC title game.
You think a 2-loss SMU's in?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
So, can you bet that? What's the odds right now for SMU to be in the playoff?
It's like $1.50, $1.40, something like that.
Minus yes?
Yeah.
Well, you should bet that then, right?
Yeah.
You believe it. They're in, no matter what. I think they got a good shot to beat Miami.
Right. Have you changed your mind on the South Carolina thing?
They can't get in because they're blocked by Mississippi.
What if they win by 3 touchdowns?
I don't know. You still lost 27-3 to Mississippi.
I know.
Straight up.
I know.
And you lost to Alabama, a game you could have won. Alabama didn't slide down. You had a 2-point to tie, and you recovered the onside kick in that game.
What were the
Remember
odds?
that?
Yeah, what were the odds a month ago if I told you the ACC would get more teams in the playoff than the SEC? That's in play here if A&M can shock the world.
You believe Georgia's in no matter what, right? Because of their schedule, the strength of their schedule.
Don't lose to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if they win and lose in the SEC championship.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
So it goes back to you can't penalize someone for that. But the other thing is with the South Carolina, why I like your bet, you're throwing away half the season if you put South Carolina in. It's like, what about this?
Yeah.
You know, what about happened the first 2 months? The other conundrum you have, and they have to fix this and tweak it, Brad Powers was all over this in the summer. When Oregon plays Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, look at the path here. I'm much better off being the 5. If I'm the 5 seed and lose the Big Ten title game, I play the Big 12 winner at home, and then I would play Boise on a neutral. If I win the game, I'm the 1 seed. I could play Georgia off a bye on a neutral field. Give me door 2 or door 1, please. That's not even close.
Well,
but that's a big problem here with how they've worked this out and how
Georgia will be higher if they win the SEC championship.
Yeah, right. But that
could be Texas.
Fine,
that would
right,
be Texas
right.
then maybe.
What pat would you rather have? So that's a lot. That's something also they have to tweak as well. And one more thing too. It's big for Notre Dame to move up there and get the 6 and jump Penn State because you'd be playing the ACC champion as opposed to the SEC champion, how that could play out in the second round too, how that would look, how that could match up with those teams. So that makes a big difference as well. So that was shocking with some of this. And again, they can't quit Alabama, that Bama's still sitting there at 13. The former MVP, Rich Gannon, coming up next. We'll run through MVP, Turkey Day games with him, and what's going on with some quarterbacks in the league straight ahead. VSiN, follow the money.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Wednesday on Follow the Money, huge show, NFL preview, Thanksgiving Day games, Rich Gannon, Sal Palantonio, and Brad Powers on the final week of the regular season in college football. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Back at it, baby. Efrey and Rich Gannon. Good action as always. What a week this has been for college hoops and sports. Gonzaga losing to West Virginia. 3 minutes left. Big favorite in that game, and we've had plenty of upsets. The Maui continues to deliver, so we'll see if another big favorite goes down here with Gonzaga laying, 15?
15 at
in this
here.
game? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so down 1 late in the game.
Auburn last night, wire to wire over Carolina. Never a doubt.
How about Duke getting a 4.5? Bogdanovich made it pick 'em.
Made it pick 'em.
He couldn't believe it.
4.5. Well-coached game by Bill Self there. I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Duke had a lot of shots at the end, not to cover, but to win the game. They had like 6 possessions. They came away with 1 point in the last 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Give me your top 3 Thanksgiving Day football memories.
Well, it's got to be Luckett with the coin toss.
Has to be Luckett.
Has to be number 1. Watching it live.
Blows it. Bettis. What? What are you talking about?
You remember that? Then they demoted him to being a back judge, and then they just let him go after like 2 years after he missed like 4 pass interference calls.
Yeah. How about butt fumble?
Bettis. I'm not sure if that makes my top list.
Oh, come on. It was hilarious.
Leon Lett's got to be there.
Leon Lett has to be.
Has to be.
Miami was an 11-point dog in the snow. Leon, what are you doing? Jerry Jones celebrating. Whoops, he touched the ball. What are you doing?
They had a point to Jerry.
Yeah. How about Randy Moss?
Yeah, that's top 3.
3 for like 160? 3 touchdowns? It's a good one. Manning, 6 touchdowns in a game. Barry Sanders also ran wild against the Bears. Some great moments. But I'd go Moss, Luckett, butt fumble, Leon Lett. How about Leon Lett being responsible for 2 of the biggest blunders in NFL history?
And the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the BB play.
BB ran down.
Okay. Can you explain what's going on in the first game tomorrow?
No, I can't.
Where's all this heavy money coming in on the Bears?
Paul, I was doing my Iowa radio hit at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and I was looking at the current. It was 8.5 here. It was down to 8.5 at 10 a.m. Of course, we're back now to 9.5. I know that, as Adam Chernoff said, the sharp side's going against the Lions every week, and Dan Campbell says, yeah, show me. And so now we sit at 9.5 back up. So what would Vinny say? Good two-way action on this game. Mm-hmm. But it looks like we'll lead the Lions, which is a position Derek loves to be in every week.
Yeah, okay, sure. So it was up to 11, and if we get back to double digits here, this is from Evan Abrams. Since 2004, on Thanksgiving, favorites are 48-9 straight up and 38-19 ATS. Since 1990, favorites of 7 or more, 29-5 straight up. And then since the run here on Turkey Day, again, 12-0 straight up, 11-1 ATS when you're laying doubles. So if it gets back to double digits here. Bears 0-4 on the road. And Eberflus, the horrible record, 2-17 against teams with a winning record, and 5-18 in one possession games. So how good this offense has been, what Goff has been able to do. Detroit, their biggest Turkey Day favorite since 1968. You got revenge from last year. Bears have lost 5 in a row, and it's one thing to lose 5 in a row. But look at how they're losing. The Hail Mary, the blocked field goal, and then what happened in overtime when the Vikings walk it off after the great comeback. It would be a huge upset if the Bears shocked the world. We mentioned the Leon Lett game. Biggest upsets going back on Turkey Day. Dolphins were double digits in 93. Packers 8.5 last year. Beat the Lions. Changed survivor. Bears 7.5 in 2015. Seattle was a 7.5-point dog in 1986. I'm concerned about what's happened to the Bears defense now. That was a putrid performance against the Vikings. So if you can't slow down Minnesota, what happens here against this red-hot Lions team in this offense?
They were halfway decent against Green Bay. I will give them credit for that.
Yep.
But the end of that game skews the result, right? Let's not forget that the Vikings fumbled on the 1-yard line the opening drive of the game, too. Mm-hmm. It was really, they dominated the game from scrimmage against the Bears. So we'll see. I mean, if Detroit can run the ball, that just sets up their play action. And they're really unstoppable.
Do you trust Johnson to do that? Because you know you can run on the Bears.
Yes,
okay.
I do.
All right. So then they'll go wild then.
I think they will.
Now, I like what I saw out of Caleb Williams. So since they made the switch and got rid of Waldron, it's been a different quarterback, and he threw for 340 yards. You see how many weapons they have, and he's doing an excellent job. But now, what does he have against this nasty Detroit defense, which, they're still playing well after the Hutchinson injury and did a great job holding the Colts in check also. So does he go off here, and can he do enough to keep him competitive from an offensive standpoint? And maybe do you think it's a shootout in the total 47.5?
It's an interesting environment. That crowd's going to be loud on Thanksgiving in a dome for him for his first time in the NFL. Hasn't played really in that kind of a raucous environment before. But the Bears need to let him be creative on plays. That's what he likes to do. He doesn't like to sit there, set in the pocket, and throw the ball. You saw that at USC. He likes to get out there, use his legs, use his arm strength when he can break the defense down. Because it takes them a long time to get to him. So we'll see what happens here. I don't understand the movement, though. I thought the number of 10.5 was the appropriate number.
Well, let's go back to what you said to Adam Chernoff, though, yesterday. This involves Detroit, and it involves Green Bay.
The look ahead.
It's a tough spot, especially for Green Bay. Green Bay, you have revenge for beating the Niners. You're up for that game. You win. Next week, Green Bay goes to Detroit.
That's a sandwich spot.
It's a
huge
total
revenge
sandwich
game from the playoffs, and they crushed them. A game they had circled, and then, oh, by the way, here's the team that's ahead of you in the standings and has beaten you at Lambeau already this year. Chernoff's point was, if it was a Sunday, he'd say, yes, that's more of a factor, but he thinks the short week nullifies a bit of that.
I'm more concerned about the Packers than Detroit. I just think Campbell's such a lunatic, and they love him, that it's just, we'll play you anywhere, it doesn't matter, and they just continue to take teams out in a body bag. Bears 26th offensively, unacceptable. 29th passing offense, can't believe it. After what he said on Hard Knocks to the punter, you're not going to see the field. So how bad this offense has been. So, and we'll see if Johnson gets the ground game going early. The Bears 20th against the run. The middle game, it's a game changer now. And I'm big about locker room and bad body language. So now it's going to be lock for the Giants. The Cowboys, all this stuff here, favorites. The Cowboys are on a 2-11 ATS run on Thanksgiving, failing to cover by 9 points per game. Had the blowout last year, they won and covered. That's one of them. But now with Rush, I don't like the spot for the Cowboys. Home field disadvantage. Come off the huge win as a double-digit dog, and I am going to get, I know they're a bad team, I am going to get a huge performance, I think, and effort from this Giants team, and I think the Giants win the game. What do you think?
Dallas, and when you look at the history of Survivor, Dallas has taken so many people out on Thanksgiving being upset at home. Remember by the Raiders?
Yep.
By I don't know what the team was then, football team, Commanders, Redskins, but they did it to them. And last year, that game was a one-possession game early in the fourth. People forget that. They ended up winning by 4 scores. Here's the thing that I look at this game. The Giants are bad against the run. The Cowboys can't run the ball. So how did they take advantage of that, right? They found a little bit there in Washington, but they can't. I mean, look at that game in Germany. Chuba Hubbard just ran it down their throat, but the Cowboys really don't do that. They're going to throw the ball 45 times with Cooper Rush. So I don't think that's a good matchup for the Dallas offense.
And then I think this is where Locke will have a big game also with Neighbors. And I think Tracy runs the ball on Dallas too. So Lamb's too low with 70.5. And Rush again is too low. Because I'm with you. They're going to throw. And I think he can at least have 210 yards also. But I think it goes back to the whole handicap here is, look at the comments leading up to the Tampa Bay game. And then they laid an egg and embarrassed themselves. So then Neighbors said, I didn't get the ball. Ask Dable. I don't know. So they have a meeting Monday. Neighbors lit up Dallas in the first meeting. You have that. Now the players are excited. No more DeVito. Can't play. Now it's Locke. Then how they humiliated themselves and embarrassed themselves at home. Now everyone's going to be watching on Thanksgiving. I think they win the game. Absolutely. And I like Neighbors over. I like Tracy over. And did you see what DraftKings did?
No.
They went to 2.5 on Aubrey from 8 field goals, under minus 180. They finally went to 2.5.
That's like the Judge walk prop. It was always then they had to move it to 1.5 walks per game and minus $2 on the under.
Yeah, so I'm backing a team that's 2-9. But again, Dallas, 31st scoring defense, 27th overall, 31st against the run. Big performance and a big effort from the Giants coming up tomorrow. And I think they shock the world, and don't use them in Survivor. That's my recommendation. Our best offer ever in 7 years at VSiN, the Black Friday special. Everything we do through May 1st for $60. Every best bet, every host, every guest. Nigel with the Premier League and soccer plays. that are up. Everything in college hoops, 24/7 video access, every betting guide. Best offer ever at VSiN. VSiN.com/subscribe. Perfect gift as well through May 1st. $60, the Black Friday special. What do we got in the Gonzaga game? Do we have an update? Are we down to 20 seconds?
No score bot.
Yeah. We'll give you an update on if Gonzaga gets shocked and upset by West Virginia. We'll also look at the other games. Up 3?
Yeah, up
okay.
3, 25 seconds.
Okay, Gonzaga up 3 now. We'll look at the late game, which we'll deliver with Green Bay and Miami, and then Black Friday special as well. We'll get to the other 3 games left, and a big one for Tulane. Tulane can make the playoff. All that straight ahead. VSiN, Follow the Money, Paulie Howard, Mike Palm, the Sports Betting Network.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Sal Pal coming up in half an hour. The big matchup Sunday with the Ravens and the Eagles. Also MVP talk with Barkley. Gonzaga was up 5 with 15 seconds. West Virginia now at the line trying to tie the game. They hit a 3. Gonzaga turned the ball over, and then they fouled West Virginia. He made the first one. Few called the timeout. West Virginia trying to tie it. Ridiculous. West Virginia actually did the smart thing and waited. They didn't foul. And the Gonzaga kid starts dribbling the ball. There's 6 seconds left. They're going to foul you.
What are you doing? Why aren't you fouling? They knew.
They picked his pocket and then almost laid it in and got the and one. So 15-point dog here going to the line. We'll probably have overtime with West Virginia and Gonzaga. All right, to the 2 late games tomorrow. And they're two good games. Very important. Let's start with Miami and the Packers. Packers lane 3 in this game. And this is going to be the G-Bank best bet of the day, going with the Packers lane 3. Again, the cold, 25 degrees, maybe colder than that. Tua, 0-7 career when the temp is under 40 degrees. And we go back to what happened last year in the playoffs as well, how bad the offense looked, and it didn't work going to Kansas City and getting blown out. But they've been great since Tua came back, at least offensively. Still, how they blew that game against Arizona could come back to bite them. And the defense has played well. To go into L.A. and shut down the Rams on that Monday night was a good performance. And they did a good job against only giving up 7 points to the Patriots in the win last week. From a prop standpoint, Jonnu Smith has been huge. 15 for 188 with 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games and a ton of targets. That's one thing to look at, especially with the cold weather. And can you get this running game going? And Achane, Samich will probably be on him over as West Virginia makes the free throw to tie it. That he's only in the mid-50s with his rushing yards. But I go back to big chance here for Love. Finally played turnover-free football. Got the win against against San Francisco. And now I think they'll do enough offensively with a scary team and a scary offense if they're firing on all cylinders. And I think they'll do enough to win and cover here. It's an anti-Tua, anti-Miami cold play. You know what to do with the Miami guys when it's this cold. That's one angle here.
Well, you watch how he'll call plays. There's going to be all short passes.
Yes.
Dink, dink, dink. And in Kansas City, they never tried to throw the ball down the field in the playoff game last year. You could look if you can find what's the longest completion for Miami. And if that's something that's 40 yards, 38, something like that, look under it because he doesn't even try to stretch the field with Hill when it's this cold. Now, if they break a screen or something, you lose the bet. But it will be dink and it will be dunk. I like the total under as well. I think you made a good point. The Miami defense was dominating against New England in that game. They gave them no breath. Every time you looked up was Miami's ball. New England was 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, punting the ball. You said they did slow down the Rams, forced the Rams to kick all field goals in that game at SoFi. And with Miami going to be running the ball and throwing short passes, I think the clock's going to be running a lot in this game.
Liked it. I also like what Chernoff said about it.
A little wind, too. It says 15 to 20 miles an hour wind. I'm looking at the forecast.
I like the Chernoff angle, too, with Jacobs over. I like Jacobs over 73.5 yards and also attempts. I mean, that just be a big game for Jacobs on the ground, too, with this game. So Green Bay, the best bets brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN, the VSiN signature card, your best bet. 1% cashback rewards on eligible gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all other transactions. For more info, head to VSiN.com/GBank, VSiN.com/GBank, subject to credit approval. Green Bay, 8-3. Best record through week 13, yet the team's in 3rd place since the merger. It's just nuts what's going on in that division. 83 points off turnovers, 2nd most in the league, only behind Buffalo. So again, how that was changed and flipped, they continue to take it away, and a ton of interceptions that they've cashed in as well. And it'd be awesome if Green Bay wins, and also Detroit setting up that big matchup next week. Detroit, lane 6. The other late game, don't forget about it. Like you said with your keys to Thanksgiving, multiple TVs. Tulane against Memphis, 9-2 against 9-2. Tulane has won 8 in a row. This from the Bear, Chris Felica. going back the last couple months, point differential, number 1 in the country, Notre Dame, and then Tulane, 28.5. Yards per game difference, Tulane plus 161, only behind Miami, Texas, and Penn State. They're averaging 40 a game. They're giving up 17 a game. They outplayed and should have beat Kansas State at home. There was a big defensive touchdown in that game, and they lost to K-State. And then they went to Oklahoma and got beat as well.
You know, they were down 29-14 with the ball with about 8 minutes left in that game in Oklahoma. They had a shot to win that game as well. Back-to-back weeks with Kansas State and Oklahoma.
So the win last week was awesome to destroy Navy and beat them 35 to rip. Memphis can't stop anything. That's another common opponent angle there, where Memphis lost to Navy and gave up a 50-burger in that game. There was professional money now on Memphis. And this number has come down, and they played games with it. So now Tulane is 14 and 55 in this one. But as we just mentioned earlier, what's on the line for Tulane? Number 1, do they get a Boise loss? Does UNLV beat Boise next Friday? They'll be playing at the same time, too. The American Athletic title game is already set. The number's up here at Circa. And I bet that. But that's Tulane laying 8.5 against Army. That's already set. So that game's going on at the same time. Number 1, do they get a Boise loss, and then they jump them and they make the playoff? Or are they impressive against Memphis and Army, and they jump the Big 12 champ, who could have 3 losses, and they also get in that way? Or does UNLV jump them because UNLV beats Boise in the rematch, and they say, UNLV, we think they exercised the demons, they came back.
They have four Power 4 wins. Remember, the UNLV resume.
Kansas on the road.
The Mountain West is very bad, right? I mean, there's 3 teams, or 2 teams you could argue. But they went and played these teams and got these Power 4 wins. So that's interesting. It will depend who comes out of the, you make that argument the Big 12 could get left out. It will depend if it's Tulane and a Big 12 team, how this path goes. I do believe if Arizona State beats Arizona and they win the Big 12, they're getting in. And probably Iowa State as well, because there would be, 2 lost teams. But if you have a 3-loss team there, and it's not Kansas State who beat them in New Orleans, it'd be an interesting vote.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Tulane takes them out? I don't trust Memphis defense here.
They can't stop it. I've watched them all year because Bill Cramsey's brother is the offensive coordinator, our director of player development. So I watch every Memphis game with him. I mean, they couldn't stop Navy at all.
Oh, that was terrible. Right. And then Tulane beat them by double digits last year as well. So it's right there for Tulane. Big opportunity. And then Black Friday. Chiefs back up to 13. It's O'Connell for the Raiders. As we've talked about, Raiders have lost 7 in a row. They're minus 17, the turnover differential. It's the worst since the Cleveland team that didn't win a game and went 0-16. Fewest takeaways, most giveaways. And Kansas City, I think, a big performance defensively after what happened and couldn't slow down Bryce Young and the Panthers, and a lot of silly penalties in that game. The revenge for what happened last year on Christmas, and I think the Chiefs blow them out here, and this thing's over in the second quarter. Not to mention the embarrassment. It's one thing to lose the game. This is what you talked about. The Raiders won the game, and O'Connell didn't complete a pass after the first quarter. Mm-hmm. Come on.
In Kansas City,
couldn't
the
stop
defense
the run
scored
also.
All the points, too.
Yes, couldn't stop the run. But from a prop standpoint, you like this Kansas City defense, but the one thing they struggle, they cannot slow down tight ends. This is all about Bowers here. And again, with Dink and Dunk and get him involved early, I'm okay with O'Connell with this prop as opposed to Ritter. But Bowers, 60.5. Bowers catches, Bowers yards. We did it with Otten on the Monday night game. Kansas City has a ton of issues against tight ends, so we can take the Bowers props over as well. And I think the Chiefs bury them in the Black Friday game, which goes at noon Pacific. So there's our 5 football games. Excellent. And we'll have plenty of props to break down and get to as well. What's your strongest play?
This weekend?
Out of the 5. Would you go under in the Lambeau game, in that Lambeau? Or
I think it's the Giants plus 3.5.
Is it? Yeah. I can see
can't
that
win
too.
At home. They're horrible.
Yeah.
They give up 40 to every team at home.
Yeah. I don't try. Yeah, I'm with you on that one as well. Have you changed your mind now on what to do if you don't have Detroit? Detroit or Kansas City.
Well, you must use Green Bay.
Got to be Green Bay.
I think you must use Green Bay.
Yeah.
And if you want a hedge, take the Dolphins in a field goal. right? Try to middle it. I think. It's all depending on people's positions, right? I mean, anybody that has a ticket out there can get $100,000 for it right now. I mean, the worst tickets are getting offered $130,000.
Right.
Think about that.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. But you also have to realize about the path and still what's out there, because 4 people have multiple entries. And then you have a guy like Paul Bovey who still hasn't used Kansas City and still has Detroit available. That's what you're up against.
If you did not have Baltimore, Paul, to use on Christmas, but you had Kansas City, you didn't have Detroit, would you use Kansas City now to get through, or would you try to get through with Green Bay and save Kansas City for Christmas?
Oh, boy.
You don't have Baltimore on Christmas.
Yeah.
Tough question.
Yeah, probably go KC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get through.
We'll get to all the props coming up. Great creativity and imagination here by all the books with the Thanksgiving Day props and an update with Gonzaga in overtime.
Got a good thing coming, so wait and see. It's a good.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Sal Pal coming up to talk NFL, and Gonzaga shell-shocked after blowing the 5-point lead with 15 seconds. West Virginia ball up 4 in overtime. MVP of VSiN and the former MVP Rich Gannon joins us now to talk Turkey Day games and MVP discussion as well. He's on the Progressive guest line. Thank you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving. How you doing?
Guys, I'm doing great. This is one of my favorite times of the year. You know, the NFL is really going out of the way the last couple of years to really commemorate John Madden and all he meant to football, not only as a coach, but as a Hall of Fame broadcaster and certainly a contributor to the game, a Hall of Famer. And I just think that's a great way to do it. And, of course, Thanksgiving and Turkey Day meant a lot to Coach Madden. So we're excited for the games. Of course, I was blessed to get to know Coach, and he's come out to the facility, and he lived out there in Pleasanton, California, and he was I actually did a radio show with him for several years, and I tell you, the best part of the radio show was a 1-hour show during the NFL season every Wednesday afternoon, but the best part of the show were the commercial breaks. He was awesome. You could ask him anything you wanted. He'd tell you anything.
Oh, that's incredible. Awesome. So take me through what you think of Jones going to the Vikings and what it means for him and Minnesota.
You know, I'm happy for him. He's a guy that I really like. And obviously, I've been in those shoes where it didn't work out for you with the first team. And, you got to kind of get kicked to the curb. And so I think it's a smart move. He goes to the practice squad. He can get a chance to get to know Kevin O'Connell and the coaches up there and the players and see if that's a good fit for him moving forward. Look, and keep his options open at the same time, guys. I think Daniel Jones, not that he cares about money, not that he needs money, but I think he's in a really good spot. He just finished his 6th season. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was, he took the Giants to a playoff game. And not only that, he went on the road and beat Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell. So they're very familiar with who he is. As I mentioned earlier in the week, if you were to take Sam Darnold's first 6 years and you were to take Daniel Jones's first 6 years, I think most general managers and coaches would pick Daniel Jones based on the film and the results from the first 6 seasons.
On the other side of that coin, his former team, the Giants, are making the quarterback switch. DeVito not making the trip to Dallas. Drew Lock, who was supposed to be number 2 on the QB depth chart, is going to get the start. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like what happened at MetLife on Sunday where there was a mutiny in the locker room after the game. But they'll get the quarterback, at least from the players' perspectives, that they want going to Dallas. This line from 4 down to 3.5, Rich, how much of a difference will Drew Lock make here?
It may be an upgrade, really, when you look at he's got more experience. He does some good things. He's a little bit like Sam Darnold. When you look at Darnold early in his career, where the decision-making, the turnovers have kind of hurt Drew Lock. He's an aggressive player. He thinks he can make every throw. He's very talented. He's got good arm talent. He can move around and create some plays. And they need something, right, guys? They're the worst scoring offense in the league right now. They need to be able to generate and manufacture some offense at the quarterback position. But you think about, the situation with DeVito, what a bad deal. I mean, you wait all season to get an opportunity. You finally get your opportunity. You go out, the team plays horrible. And, I heard someone say earlier in the week that, the organization, the Giants organization made a business decision when they moved on from Daniel Jones. And the team last Sunday made a business decision not to play hard. That was embarrassing. Yes. I hope we don't see that again. I hope we don't see that again on Thursday. When a team just rolls over like that, and you get punched in the mouth. They haven't won a game at home all season. That's these are professional athletes, and nothing bothers me more than when you got guys out there not competing.
Well said. So now you played twice on Thanksgiving. How big is this then to go out, redeem yourself, and then everyone's watching? And what does it mean to play on Thanksgiving with your experience?
It means something to everybody. And here's the one thing I would say, guys. Everybody who puts it on a Giants uniform, or even Cowboys uniform for that matter, is being evaluated. And everyone's going to watch the film, and everybody's going to see who played hard, who prepared hard, who had a week of practice, and put it on the line. And they're also going to see guys who turn down hits and who, decide to protect themselves and not get hurt and not have to have surgery and rehab in the offseason. That's what you worry about. So everyone's going to be watching. And if you're a young quarterback like Drew Lock, what an amazing opportunity. You got all these teams watching. You got the Giants watching. If he goes out and plays well, not just on Thursday, but these next 5 or 6 games, that's huge. I mean, people are watching. And if it doesn't work out in New York, there's somebody else that needs a good young quarterback. But, every rep's important for these young quarterbacks. When you get the opportunity to play, you have to make the most of it.
Rich, the night game is a great one at Lambeau Field. The Dolphins, revitalized with Tua back, take on the Packers. We all know the stats. Tua's never won a game in under 40-degree weather. It should be low 20s with winds 15 to 20 miles an hour. Packers are a 3-point favorite. Have you ever played with guys that could not play in cold weather so that it affected them like this? And what prospects do you give to tomorrow night in Green Bay?
I like what I'm seeing from the Dolphins offense for the last 3 weeks. I mean, they're scoring 30 points a game. They're getting back to playing like they did last year. They're healthy. Tua's getting the ball out of his hands, guys, in 2.4 seconds, which is the fastest in the NFL right now. So I think it's by design. They don't want him holding it. They don't want him getting hit back there. But they're healthy. You're starting to see Jalen Waddle and Jonnu Smith and Tyreek Hill, make some plays. And so I think they're capable of moving the ball and scoring some points against that Packers defense. What they have to do is take care of the ball because that's a defense, I think it's second in the league with takeaways. And, of course, on the other side of it, you look at Daniel Jones, and, he didn't throw a pick last week for the first time. They're hoping he gets back to playing like he did weeks 11 to 18 last year. Where he threw 18 touchdowns and just the one pick. But, to answer your question, I just remember playing for the Raiders and going back east, in December when it was really cold. I was freaking out in the locker room before the games. Guys are putting long johns on and long sleeves. I'm like, wide receivers dressing up like the abominable snow. I'm like, guys, you're not even going to get your arms over your head. Like, some guys just, some guys just don't do well in the cold weather. The Dolphins have lost 11 straight games where the temperature's been below 40. Now there's lots of reasons for it. Lots of players that aren't even there anymore and so on and so forth. I mean, teams change and it is what it is, but you have to do something about it. And I know Tua made a comment right after the game last week. This is an important game for Miami. Every game from here on out is a playoff game for the Dolphins. They've got to get themselves back in this race in the AFC, get one of those wild card spots. But to do that, they're going to have to win, I think, this Thursday night at Lambeau.
Rich, Sunday, Houston is in Jacksonville. A two-part question here. When we hear now Trevor Lawrence is coming back in to play for Jacksonville, I mean, the question is why? Why is Doug Peterson even still there after what's happened the last few weeks? And then the second part is I can't put my finger on what's happened to C.J. Stroud from his freshman campaign here to his second year. 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last year to 14-9. He's turning the ball over. The passer rating, the QBR, all off the charts, going down. Can you explain what's happened, what you're seeing with C.J. Stroud, and then do you understand the decision to play Trevor Lawrence?
So I think the Texans are vulnerable, guys. They sit atop that division. It's a bad division to begin with, and they'll probably win it. But they're vulnerable. They have not played well here the last month, and I think when you look at C.J. Stroud, I think there's two things. I think the protection hasn't been good enough. He's been sacked second most in the league this year, so he's getting hit a lot. He's getting rushed. He's getting hurried. The mistakes and the turnovers are up for him. Here's a guy that threw the ball 499 times last year and threw 5 picks. That was one of the most impressive stats I saw last year. But he's turning the ball over a little bit more. And the other thing is that Nico Collins missed the 5 games. I think that had a huge impact on him. I think they're getting back up to speed, but they're not running it well. Keep an eye on that. Joe Mixon, the last month, those numbers are way down. So, and not only that, but they have a little bit of an imbalance. They're throwing it so not much. They've got to be able to get Joe Mixon going a little bit. They got to get the play action and protection game straightened out and let this kid play. C.J. Stroud's a great quarterback, but he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump, and I'm sure that concerns the folks in Houston.
Rich, I want to close with this. You're an NFL awards voter. How much does a team's record factor into who you're going to cast your vote for MVP? I mean, Lamar obviously is in the mix right now, but how many losses can you tolerate? We've seen that the MVP comes from the 1 seed 16 out of the last 17 years. So when you're looking at a player individually and what they mean to their team, how much do you factor in their eventual win-loss record?
I think that's a fair question. I would say that, I mean, to me, if he's the best player on his team and he's the best player in the league, it doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously, if he's on a team that goes, 4-13, or that's a different story. But look, I don't. The reason they've lost those games, I don't believe, is because of Lamar Jackson. He's had a great year. But that being said, I think the race has gotten a lot tighter. And Saquon Barkley. I know we don't give this award to running backs very often, but you look at the kind of season, the kind of impact that this guy has had. I mean, he's on pace to, shatter the single-season rushing record, scrimmage yards. I mean, guys, he's rushed for 920 yards in the second half of games this season. I mean, he's averaging over 7 yards a carry. I
Yep.
mean, he reminds me of Jim Brown. He's like he gets stronger as the game goes on. You know what I mean? And they're obviously different types of. I'm just talking about their endurance, their conditioning, their strength, their leg power. This guy wears defenses down late in games. He's got 9 runs in the second half that are huge. I really like Saquon Barkley.
Happy Thanksgiving, sir. Great to talk to you. Thank you. Have fun.
Thanks, Rich.
Great answer, too, about the cold weather. Oh, man. Phenomenal. Sal Pal up. What a double shot here. Back-to-back Jack. Sal Pal up next. VSiN.
This Black Friday, get a VSiN Pro subscription for just $60 through May 1st. Our best deal of the year to